And a very good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, the 18th of April, 2019, and you're watching Chris on Chris's Real Talk at home in my living room. So, this happened earlier. If you obviously clicked on the thumbnail, you've seen an accident basically. And what had happened is me and my family were walking home from the shops, and about 2 minutes from our door, it's crossed over the road. I walked up a little bit, and this car came out of nowhere. Hi, travel master. This car came. Right next to us, basically, it hit another car. Bang. We've turned around. This car has bounced up into the air onto two wheels, and then as he's come back to the floor, has swerved to the left, hit another three cars before coming to a stop. And it happened right next to us. And I thought, if we'd not crossed over the road when we did, and we crossed over the road at the point where we would normally have crossed the road, it would have hit us. Like, big time, would have hit us. And it got me thinking, as it often does. It's like, oi, oi, oi. It just gets you thinking. Life is so short to be taken away with something so quickly. Hence the reason why we always say to our kids, look before crossing the road. Stop, look, listen. Luckily we crossed the road already, but literally right next to us. So where I live, basically, there's an island in the middle of the road. And what this car had done is it swerved to avoid the island, and then swerved again to avoid the van that was just past the island. And then he'd tried swerving back, hit the car that was in front of the van. That car then moved, literally physically moved, about 4 or 5 meters while this car went up onto two wheels. And when the car came down, hit 3 more cars before coming to the stop. And the airbags went. And the thing is, if you'd seen what I'd posted on YouTube earlier today on the communities thing, I can actually post now, like on Facebook sort of thing. The front left tire of this car was completely bald. The car shouldn't have been on the road, but it was just too close for comfort. Basically, this is what the video says. The title of this video is too close for comfort. And you have to be so careful out there. I mean, the bloke and the grandson that got out of the car, the grandson was fine, a bit shaken up, but the man himself, the driver, both airbags were deployed. He got out of the car, was holding his chest. I thought, had he had a heart attack? Had he not? And it's what it was. His pain was coming from the airbag deploying. And I had to call 2 people, my missus and someone else, called a ambulance and the police. But I saw what I thought was diesel coming from underneath this car, and I had to call the fire brigade, get that sorted out, see if there's any flammables there. I had to turn the incoming call. I'll call this friend of mine back later. And things like that. It's too close. You see things on the street, you hear things on the radio about accidents happening, people losing their lives, or things happening that's just down. You always hear of something happening to someone else. And although this didn't happen to me, it happened literally 3 feet away from me, you see. And it does hit home, because I had my family with me, had my kids with me. And the chances are, if I hadn't had them with me, I would have actually crossed over the road at that point where the crossing is, and this guy would have hit me. One of us would have been killed. Let me just read some of these comments. So Chris, hope you're all good. The family, loved the family. Hope Anthony's okay. Yeah, everyone's good. Everyone's good. Anthony's fine. He did actually do a live a couple of days ago for nearly an hour, I think. You can check that on his channel. But he had a good discussion there. Good to see you. All right, Sergeant Major Patrick Harbour. Yes, yeah, I'm all good, mate. Those tyres were not roadworthy at all. I'm glad you saw that because I've got a few other pictures. I mean, I had to take other pictures for not just putting on my blog for this, for example, but obviously because I was a witness. The police have my details if they want to take a full statement, or if the cars move, or if anything else happens. Because I just hope this guy had insurance, because 3 cars, I think 4 actually, no, 4 cars got. Let's just say it's not great. So if I was at work all day to come home to find my car parked outside my house with another car shoved in the back of it like that, I'd be more than upset. The scariest thing about crashes for me is the airbag itself. It can hit so hard, your nose could break or something. This is very true. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, actually, Mr. Harper. Hi, Chris. Hope you okay. Thank you very much, Sarah. I hope you're well as well. Nearly 2 hours, I think it was. Yeah, it was. It was a few hours ago, actually. It was around about 3:30, nearly 4 o'clock. Yeah, so that's just happened. That the thing is with airbags are a fantastic thing. Airbags save lives. You see, if you're going to buy a used car, make sure that you buy a car with airbags. You see, however, a lot of people don't understand that airbags can be very dangerous as well if you're not in the car correctly. So if you're the driver and you cross your arms like that, if you've got one arm there, you sit like that with your hands on the wheel. Look at me looking at the screen. Camera's there. You have to have your arms, ideally, as they always say, at 10 to 2 or even 9 and 3. You see, and have your thumbs actually not around the wheel but resting, but have it, that way if you do have an accident, you're sitting in a good upright position, your hands ain't going to be thrusted into your face. You're not going to, there's a good chance that when your airbags deploy anyway, you could burn your arms because they come out at some force. You see, so drivers need to be aware of how they're actually sitting in their own car. But equally, when it comes to passengers, please, passengers, don't put your feet on the dash. Don't put your knees up. Don't sit too far forward, because that passenger airbag comes out at the exact same velocity as the driver's. If your feet are up, if your legs are up, there's a good chance that your face is going to end up somewhere buried in your knee. I think there's a post I saw very recently, actually, I think it was on Facebook, of a woman who had her knee up on the dash, and she was involved in a collision, and her knee actually carved out a great big dent in her head. She'll never be the same again. And this is all because she wasn't sitting correctly as a passenger. So there are do's and don'ts when driving in a car, even when you're not driving as a passenger. You see, so, but that was, for me personally, that was way too close for comfort. It's not the first time it's happened. I've witnessed a crash and been that close to something. I mean, I've been involved in road traffic collisions. None of them have been my fault, thankfully. But drivers need to be more aware. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that if the tyres on that car had been legal, there's a good chance that what that happened wouldn't have happened. There's a damn good chance that could have been prevented had his tyres been legal, because he would have had the grip to stay on the road. But the driver himself wasn't British. It was a right-hand drive car with B on the number plate. I'm not sure where that comes from, but I'm pretty sure that number plate wasn't meant for that type of car, or right-hand drive car. The driver himself, I don't think he should have been on the road, regardless of whether his tyres were legal or not. He just didn't seem to have an ounce of knowledge of anything, even though he was shaken up, and I forgive him for that, because obviously he was involved in a nasty accident. But I think in order to drive in a country that you're not from, you need to, one, have a good working knowledge of that country's regulations and rules on the roads. Over here, we've got the highway code, and I would encourage anyone from anywhere, if you're going to another country, to literally learn the rules of the road of the place you're going to drive. And secondly, try, I know it's difficult, try and have at least a small command of that country's language. Because if it wasn't for the fact that his grandson was in the car, I wouldn't be able to communicate with this guy. This guy didn't speak a lick of English. Therefore, he's unable to read road signs. You know, obviously you'll know a place name, but you may not know what it actually says underneath it in clear, simple instructions, or he may not be aware of certain road signs, you know, or even legal speed limits within where he was. But let's read some more of these comments. Yep, I'm good, Chris. My mum taking me to Seaside on Saturday. Oh, that's nice. I love the seaside. I know, right, Sarah? The most dangerous drivers are ones clenching the steering wheel so hard that the blood does not able to circulate. This is very true. Their reaction time would be much slower. This is very true. I will read some more comments. So one thing I've done is the last 2 cars I've had, I've gone to an automatic. I've always had manual cars. And believe it or not, even though a lot of people say that buying an automatic car is a cop-out, you know, you've got your manual license, use your manual license. The fact is that if you have an automatic car, your attention is better. Because one, you know, I like doing these little lists. Like, one is your attention is more on the road. You're not messing around with, especially if you're a new driver, you know, finding the gear stick, putting your foot on the clutch, you know, depressing the clutch, changing gear, getting the right gear, you know, all of that. You know, your hands are, or should be, on the wheel at all times. Your head should be forward. You see, looking up. You see, a lot of drivers, unfortunately, only look as far as the car in front, which they should never do. What you should always do when driving is look long through the car in front, as far down the road as you can, while keeping your peripherals on the go, you know, checking your mirrors, your rear view mirror, your side mirrors, but never ever just focus on the car in front. You should be a good distance away from the car in front to react to it if it needs to stop, while still knowing what's going on way down the road. If you can't see, you know, past the car in front, then use what's called second sight, is, believe it or not. You've got vision up, look forward, and second sight is look through the car in front. You know, if you can't see what's in front of the car in front, then look through it, because you can see through, in a majority of cars, the back window through the front. So there's many, many different ways you can keep your own attention span there, keep your own vigilance up. Canvia, hi, thank you very much for saying hi. B is Belgium, thank you very much. I now know something. Oh, sir, Sarah said it. It's very true. Thanks, Sergeant Major Patrick. I tell you what, I do love these conversations, I really do. I think what I'm going to have to do is go through some highway code rules. I mean, I drive for a living, I'm a bus driver. This channel here is for bus drivers, by a bus driver, but I talk about absolutely everything, you know, so I do try and keep it, when talking about driving, to a very high standard. This individual driving his car didn't have, as far as I'm concerned, a clue. You see, if it wasn't for the fact that we crossed over the road when we did, there's a good chance he would have hit us for where we were. Let's read this. We are all a community. This is very true. Chris's community. Thank you. Really appreciate that. One of the best out there. I like to think that everyone that subscribes to my channel, or even other channels that are linked to this one, say any of the bus driving channels, like Double Decker Anton, Andy on the buses, Flat Cat Bus Driver, that Yorkshire Bus Driver, everyone else that I'm going to put in the description down below, check them out. All a fantastic community. I do like the conversation. I do this for the conversation. I really do. Talk between yourselves in the comment section long after this video is done. I love that. But what has been too close for comfort for you? What has been too close? Well, what situation have any of you ever been in where you've thought, sod that was way too close? You know, I mean, like I said, I've been in other road traffic collisions. None of them have been my fault. I think the worst one, or one of the worst ones I've been in, is when I had a 2006 Suzuki Swift. I love that car. You know, 1.5 VVT, and I loved it. It was brand new, my first brand new car that was. And I was driving, taking my other half to work, and was going down Elephant and Castle, down the Walworth Road, just before the new build all that started up, there was actually a petrol station, Shell petrol station, that used to be there. And I was going to drop my other half off at the petrol station because I didn't want to go any further for risk of going at the congestion charge. And what had happened was I had obviously checked my mirrors as I would, indicated as I would, and I was sat in the middle of the road with the nose just over the line, waiting to go into the petrol station. And handbrake was on, completely stationary. And a motorcyclist that had come from behind me tried to overtake me, bearing in mind I was sat in the middle, indicating what for me is right. For you, it'd probably be this way, but the way the screen is, these cameras are funny. But he'd actually managed to hit my car while I was stationary, took the front offside or right side wing off, do my suspension, do my steering rack, you know, and his bike pissed petrol absolutely everywhere. And for me, that was scary. You know, I mean, I've been hit up the back a few times in various other cars, but it's people's attention on the road is absolutely shocking. And what I've noticed recently, I say over the last 10 years, is driving standards have actually slumped so bad. I mean, it's bad. I mean, in the last 10 years, okay, you've got, let's just say 10 years ago, someone who was 15, yeah, is now 25. You can have a 25-year-old with a license. They've gone through RAC, not RAC, a company that teaches you how to become an instructor. You see, they would have had their license for however long they've had their license. They've got their instructor's license, basically. And they're teaching people how to drive. But it's people with bad habits, unfortunately, teaching people how to pass their test, not teaching people how to drive. And there's the difference. Is kids these days, or anyone that is driving on the road that's had their license for at least 2 or 3 years, haven't learned how to drive. They learn how to pass their test. They learn how to get in a car for an hour and do all the right things for an hour while someone watches them. Once they pass their test, then they're free to go on the roads and do exactly as they please. So they haven't learned how to drive. They've learned how to pass their test. And that for me is scary. You see, I learned how to drive. I had 2 lessons a week for a long time. I actually failed my first theory test. I passed my first driving test. I passed my first driving test with 2 minors. But the thing is, I've kept my level of driving to the exact same standard since 2004. I have my faults. I drive with one hand. I drive with my music on. Whatever. We all have our small habits. We all do it. But by and large, I drive safely to the conditions of the road the way I was taught. And as a bus driver, we actually have to do the exact same test, but harder, from scratch. Hazard test, hazard perception, theory test, practical test. I failed my bus test twice, you see, but from failure, I learn. And I have to drive a bus crammed full of people every single day, and their lives are in my hand. So I literally have to drive, taking absolutely everyone's safety into account. And I think that the driving test now is way too easy. I think that instructors need to be stricter. I think the test needs to be harder. And I think in order to drive in this country, whether you're from abroad or wherever, on a non-UK license, you need to have at least some form of minor test passed before getting in a car in this country. 100%. You know, if you're coming over here and you're driving, book it a few weeks in advance, get a hazard perception test done, get a theory test done. If you can't pass that test before driving in this country, you shouldn't be allowed to drive in this country. And the thing is, I can say that quite happily because I believe it should be the same across Europe. So I'm not going to go and drive in France or Germany or Italy or Spain or anywhere else in the continent because I don't want to. I don't want to because they drive on the other side of the road. Also, it's not down to my driving ability. It's down to the fact of I don't trust other people's driving. other people's driving standards in other different countries are also different. You see, so I don't want to do that because it means I would have to pass a test. And on my rules, I would have to pass a test to go and do that. I'm too lazy for that. I don't want to do it, but I believe it should still be there. Driving standards, unfortunately, in this country have dropped. They need to be brought up back to a very good standard because there are children, unfortunately, teaching children how to drive. And they're not driving, they just learn how to pass a test. I mean, the thing is, one thing of advice I'll give you, if you don't drive, if you want to start learning how to drive, all I'm going to say is once you pass your test, you never ever really stop learning. Every single drive you do, even if it's to the shops and back, every single drive is different because every condition is going to be different. Could be weather, could be amount of traffic. Everyone on the road is going to be different at any given time of day, even if you do it at the same time every day. Everything is going to be different. There are too many variables. It's the best oxymoron going. It's a constant variable. You see, driving on the road, you have to be prepared for absolutely everything. I've got another incoming call. I'll call her back in a minute. It's my sister. But yeah, it scared me today. It did. It absolutely scared me. I come close within feet of losing my family or losing my life or getting seriously injured for the rest of our lives. It's scary. It is. You know, you have to be so careful out there. Pedestrians, look again, listen. You know, if you see a car coming and it's far up the road and he's speeding, don't take a chance. Just wait for him to go. Walk further down the road to a crossing. You see, don't walk next to the curb. Walk in from the curb. You know, give yourself the extra protection. If you're driving, be careful. Give yourself at least 3 or 4 seconds to the car in front. If there's a car driving up your arse because you're not going fast enough, fuck them. If you're doing 28 in a 30 zone, good for you. Seriously, drive 2 or 3 mile an hour below the speed limit. It's not going to kill you. Chances are you'll get there at the exact same time as you would driving at the speed limit because you've got traffic lights to contend with. There's no need to speed. Absolutely not. You see, keeping your own speed down as a driver reduces your chance of having an accident. If you do have an accident and you're below the speed limit just a little bit, there's a good chance that it's not going to be your fault because you're paying attention to how fast you're going. You're paying attention to the conditions of the road. You've got to be so careful. You see, I mean, if I had an accident where it was my fault and I'd ended up colliding with someone or killed someone, I'd have to live with that for the rest of my life. You see, that is too close for comfort. Connecting with someone is too close for comfort. Having an accident 3 feet away from me, for me personally, is way too close for comfort. And it's not just on the road. There are people out there, unfortunately, in this country right now, we've got an epidemic of knife crime. This, for me, is too close for comfort. Within a mile radius of where I live, I've heard over the last 3 months of multiple stabbings. For me, that is too close for comfort. I've got a family. It's literally down the road these things are happening. Let me read some of these comments. This tripod keeps moving. Yeah, it's fine. You are very fortunate that the company allowed you to have more chances. What is this? Thank you. Drivers should. Yeah. Well, the thing is with buses is you fail the first time, they'll take you out on a driving assessment with your instructor. The first time I failed my test actually wasn't my fault. The reversing maneuver was actually set up for a car towing a trailer, but after that, I managed to hit the cone. And what happened with that was after the test was finished, the examiner actually said to me, "You failed your test." Went outside and was like, "Yeah, I've failed you, but the cone test wasn't set up, but the paperwork's done now, sorry." The second time was entirely my fault. And I'll stick my hands up to that. But they do assess you on the buses. They give you a driving assessment to see if you're ready for a retest. If they don't think you're ready for a retest, then they can just say, "Do you know what? Thanks for applying. but we can't take you on as a bus driver. And at that point, you can go to a different company, try again, do what you want to do. But buses, they're very, very strict on driver safety, as you can imagine. Tomorrow is Easter. No, I believe Easter is Sunday, I believe. Yeah, don't go to Portugal, you'll die on the road. I've actually been to Portugal. I would never drive over there though. Is Stagecoach buying a Riva? Says Mahfouz. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, I do apologise. I don't know. That's a very good question if Stagecoach is buying a Riva. If and when I find out, I will let you know on here in the new community section that I've got. I know Go Ahead are buying a lot. I believe they're buying a lot from what I hear. Could be rumours, but I don't know. Glad you and your family are okay. Thanks, D. Amani. Amani. Either way, yeah, my family, we're all good. It was just a shock. You see, it was a shock. Luckily, no one was hurt apart from the gentleman that was driving, and that was purely because of the airbag. But yeah, I actually feel more compassion for the people whose cars that this guy actually hit. I really do, because they were really nice cars, and they've been, at least two of them have been written off completely. I've taken more pictures, but yeah, too close for comfort. It really is too close for comfort. Something like that happening that close to me, it hits home. What happened, bro? Accident? Yeah, it was an accident. It happened about 3 feet away from me. A car was driving down the road, and the thing is, he wasn't speeding, said the guy that was driving behind him, because he stopped. He wasn't speeding. He just didn't see the island, dodged the island. There was a van in front of him, went to dodge the van. As he's come back, he's hit a car, which has made him go back this way, up onto two wheels. The car's jumped. He's gone back to the ground and hit God knows how many other cars. And yeah, it was scary. There was a lot of damage there. A lot of damage. And yeah, I feel for the people whose cars that are wrecked. Absolutely wrecked. You know, like the car that he ended up finishing into was a Nissan Juke. It might have even been a Nismo edition. So yeah, not happy about that. I wouldn't be if that was my car. Let's read some of these comments. My mum nearly got run over on a green man by a police car with no sirens, just lights. She told me she knew they weren't really on a call because they came back looking for her and gave her a wave. Yeah, see, that's scary. The only other main accident I've been in, which I was actually blamed for, I was at work. And this is going back about 5.5, 6 years. And I was actually driving my bus, and I was on the Elephant and Castle roundabout from London Road, and I could hear a siren. There was a siren coming from somewhere, and I didn't know where. So as I've come onto the roundabout, obviously I've approached it with a lot of caution, very slow, about 10 miles an hour. And I'm looking everywhere in the mirrors to see where this siren's coming from. And what I had noticed, there was a van on my near side, a white van. And what this van had done is he'd undertaken me on the roundabout, which is illegal anyway to undertake. And as we've come around up to the exit from Newarton Causeway, this siren, this police car has come shooting across. And as this police car has come shooting across, this van, as he's undertaken me, has, without indicating, pulled straight in front of me with less than 3 feet to spare, slammed his brakes on. I tried to stop the bus, but with 3 feet to spare, with no indication, just pulling straight in front of me and stopping dead, there was nothing I could do. Absolutely nothing. I mean, I slammed my foot on the brake. You stop a 13-ton bus full of people, even at 10 miles an hour, you know, with less than 3 feet to spare. I hit the back of this thing, this car, this van. And the police stopped, admitted they caused the accident because they just came flying out of Newarton Causeway without slowing down, basically. But even though it was all on CCTV, even though I watched the footage, I got blamed for that. And I do hold a grudge, you know, but I've had to learn to forgive because it was a long time ago. But it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, luckily, no one was hurt in that incident. But even though majority of the time you hit someone from behind, it's your fault. This was 100% not my fault. You know, the van driver, to be fair, was a mixture of him and the police car, but the van driver didn't check his mirror because, as a professional driver, plus I was a professional driver long before being a bus driver, I know to look in other people's mirrors to see if they're looking or to make eye contact. So this guy didn't check his mirror. He pulled straight in front of me, slammed his brakes on. Nothing I could do. In fact, my foot was already off the accelerator, covering the brake, just in case anything happened, you know. But it just wasn't enough. I got the blame for that. Let's read some more of these. What bus or buses did you have your examinations on? I had my bus test done on a Plaxton President. It was an X-Ray. The bus by now should be old enough to drink, but it was a very old bus by today's standards. It was a Plaxton President, and those buses are actually really, really nice to drive for how old they are. But the way I see it, and the way we all see it, is if you can drive an older bus that's ropey as sin, you can drive anything. Let's have a look what this says. If it was in London, I don't blame you. Yeah, thanks for that. Cheers for that. Were you all right? How bad was the damage? Well, I was all right. I was actually suffering from a really bad cold at the time. The damage, apparently, because I was called in by the accident prevention manager, the damage was to the back doors of this van, and apparently, this is why I say apparently, specialised racking within the van, which cost up to and over £3,000. Don't believe that for 1 second, but whatever they want to claim on insurance is entirely down to them. You know, I don't have a bad conscience about that at all. I done everything I could. Wasn't my fault. But for me, again, too close for comfort. Don't undertake me and then pull in front of me and then brake immediately. You see, too close for comfort. Let's have a look. It wasn't your fault, Chris. It ain't fair, but you got told. I did get told off for that, actually. I was bloody. Yeah, I'm not going to say the name of the company, but we know what it means. Yeah, I got the blame for that. Although saying that, it was different management at the time, or different accident prevention manager. He was a bit of a, but no, he had a job to do, but unfortunately they didn't want to defend me when they should have. So other than that, it's a long time ago. It's fine. Caden Linney, hi. Thanks very much for joining the channel. Nice bus. Personally, I think, yeah, to be fair, it's not a bad bus. You know, you still see very rarely some of them in service. They would have to have been converted to hybrids by now, have a Euro 6 engine, but you do still see them very rarely, and they are still used as training buses, believe it or not, those Plaxton Presidents. They're a really, really good bus. It's just, I don't think, until the last one dies, you know, they should still stay in service. They were just claiming money. Yeah, of course they were. Of course they were. You know, I mean, if someone was to hit me, you know, right up the back, that's happened more than once, unfortunately, but I could say, yeah, I can't open the boot of my car, but I've got about £2,000 worth of specialised computer and equipment and this, that, and the other, but I can't show you, but it's all there and broken. I'm going to have to claim on it. Funfair Screamers, hi, thanks very much for joining. What's your thoughts on DW buses? DW buses, aren't they Arriva DWs? I'm not sure. Is it DWs, DLAs? I'm not too sure. I'm not 100% on terminology, so I do apologise. I longer see Plaxton Presidents, even ALX 400s are leaving us soon. Yes, true. The ALX 400, is that the Enviro 400s? I know there's new ones, if it is the same bus. There are new Enviros. They're very, very good. I'm now type trained on those, so I can drive those if my LT packs up. They're a nice bus, but they have their faults. They do. DAF right, yeah. So the right buses, DAF right. So yeah, with those buses, right make a lot of buses like the Eclipse and the WVLs and WHVs that we did drive. That's actually gone to another garage. Those buses were actually on my route. They're a good one. They're a good because the DAF, it's certain branding, isn't it? I mean, to be fair, over the last say 15 years, I think buses and bus safety, bus standards, and even engines, they've come along from what they used to be. They don't chug the way they used to, you know. Obviously, buses still break down, but a lot of bus drivers like myself have our own preferences. It's for me a bus, the best type of bus with the best engines, a Volvo. Those Plaxton Presidents had Volvo engines, 10-litre diesel engine. The hybrid WHVs, the newer ones from the old Gemini Eclipse, they had 7-litre diesel engines with the hybrid drive. The engine that's in the LTs that I drive is actually a slightly higher tuned 3-litre Cummins engine, but it's not so much an engine. It's not connected to any drive. It's a generator. So that engine only turns on and runs enough to charge the batteries and everything else. Let's see what there's. No ALX 400s. I like Plaxtons, old as hell. Oh, I don't think I had the pleasure of driving those ones. Don't know how to explain. Basically, it's a boxy bus, and they are more common at Stagecoach. Possibly. Chris, do you remember a controller they called Dime Bad? I think he came from East Thames. I haven't heard that name, but even if I did, I wouldn't be at liberty to tell you. But at this moment, I haven't. Evening, Chris. Best wishes to you and your family. Josh, thank you very much. Best wishes to you as well. ALX 400 Tridents. That's the one. Tridents. Yeah, basically those ones are actually on. They were Arriva. The Tridents. They actually were the predecessor to the Enviro 400, the older one that came out in 2006, I believe, which ran new ones up until 2012, where they stopped producing them. Again, I could be wrong. And then the new ones came out from 2016. So again, at these dates, from what I've seen number plates of, I could be wrong. But yeah, things that are too close for comfort, though. What makes you scared? What makes you worry about? Damn, that was close. Too close for comfort. For me, it could be people, just out and about. Too close for comfort, invading your own personal space. Have you ever played bus simulators? Do you know what? I've played a bus simulator on my phone. I know there's a bus simulator on PC called OMSI. What really gets my go about bus sims, though, is you see all these other simulators. You've got train simulator, plane simulator, you've got goat simulator, all these other simulators on PC, for example. But there's no good bus sims on PC, because I want to drive a bus on a simulator around London, for example, on some routes that I know. With OMSI, I believe it's OMSI, you can drive certain routes that I do know, but the graphics are absolutely shocking. They're rubbish. Mainly, no, Arriva have the B7 TLs, the Volvos, mainly, but not a bus simulator. No, I'll stick to my mobility scooter. Ross, you do that. You stick to your mobility scooter as long as you're happy and you're safe driving it and you're comfortable. That's all that matters. OMSI 2 is amazing. See, this is what I'm saying with OMSI 2. I've heard of OMSI 2, and I have seen a lot of YouTube videos of OMSI 2. I know they have the Route 3 on OMSI 2, which goes past where I used to live, funny enough, and it goes all the way up to where I drive my bus now, and goes up to where I live near, up to Crystal Palace. The graphics are bad, though. I mean, the road mapping is okay, but the graphics, I would say, wouldn't even belong on a original PlayStation. But there needs to be a decent, well-graphicked bus simulator out there with different types of bus. For me personally, I'd buy that. I mean, some people would see that as being a little bit sad, but as much as I love my driving games, I love my war games, sometimes I might need to, just drive a bus, without working, just do what I want to do. I can be rude to passengers. I'm never rude to passengers. I don't believe in it, but, if I want to just vent, pick someone up and go like that. Crystal Palace to North London. No, the 3 goes from Crystal Palace to Trafalgar Square. It used to go all the way up to Oxford Circus, and it got cut back to Piccadilly Circus, and now it's been cut back again to Northumberland Avenue. Thank you very much, TfL. Hi, Mr. Rahman. Mr. or Mrs. I do apologise. I haven't got my glasses. I can't see. Route 3 looks horrible. The add-on London coming out looks a lot better. Chris, take the time to go and look. It's been in production for 4 years. Wow. To be fair, the Route 3, I know it because it's my old school bus. I know it to drive. If my garage got hold of that route from a Bellio, I'd have no problem jumping on that route to drive it in service. It's not particularly long. It's just certain areas it goes through, like Brixton. I don't like driving through Brixton even in my car, but it's not a bad route. I am very comfy and safe. It's just a shame that it won't fit on your bus, so I can give you dogs abuse. That's funny. I've actually got something to say about mobility scooters and buses shortly. Oh, okay. I think it replaces part of the 53. No, see, 53s, they actually terminate at Whitehall. Yeah, 53s terminate at Whitehall. The 3 hasn't replaced anything to do, I don't believe, with the 53, unless the 53s are getting cut back. I don't know. It's Mr. Ha. Thanks for telling me. Imtiaz. I do apologise. My pronunciation is terrible today. I'm talking about Route 3 on OMSI. Yeah, I was talking about Route 3 as well. Westminster. It's not so much North London, it's just Westminster, isn't it? Why is this not doing anything? Okay, thank you, mate. Top man. All right, so with mobility scooters, let's get on to this. Not all mobility scooters, as Mr. McGarry here is aware, not all scooters can fit on buses. If your scooter, as rule of thumb, has indicators on it, it can't get on a bus. If it's the size of a golf cart, it can't get on a bus, basically. So as much as we'd love to take everyone, if it's too big or if it's a sort of thing that, you know, you could do your weekly shopping, it doesn't get on a bus. So there we go. But things that are too close for comfort, you know, for me personally today, that was too close for comfort. That for me was a bit of an eye-opener. I'm glad I teach my kids how to cross the road. But again, we just got lucky. We crossed the road at the right time. And, you know, this thing hit a car that was 3 feet away from us. And we jumped out of our skins, basically. You got your new motor yet, mate? Any good on fuel? Yes, Dave. I have got my new motor. I've had it over a month. Nissan Qashqai N Motion 1.3 turbo automatic, 160 horsepower. It is good on fuel. However, it's not as good on fuel as my 1.6 diesel. Basically, I still feel like I've been stitched up. I still feel like I should put in some kind of claim to the Mayor of London for my vehicle, because my last vehicle was a £30 a year road tax, extremely clean, extremely economical diesel engine. And the goalposts for this ultra low emission zone are absolutely ridiculous. I just don't think I'll get anywhere with it. But if I could claim at least half the cost of my car from the Mayor of London, thank you very much. I'm going to give it a go. Let's read some more of these comments. Do you know when Anton back doing his video? Well, if you actually go onto Anton's page, he did a live within the last 5 days. It was, you know, it's very rare for Anton to do a live, and I actually encouraged him to do the live. He did say that he is going to be back very, very soon. But again, it's down to him. He's just enjoying having time off without having to worry about producing videos on top of doing a full-time job, which is why I do all my videos live. Because if I did this on a ramble for like 44 minutes and 17 seconds, I'd have to cut it down and, you know, trim bits and this, that, and the other. For me personally, going live is a much better way of interacting with you guys and getting my point across. With Anton, he doesn't do live so much, very rare. That's why he likes to do his videos, cut them together, make his little production, and post it. It's very time consuming for him with a full-time job. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all get on buses in mainland Europe. As I say, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, unfortunately, you are wrong. Not all mobility scooters can get on buses. Even in mainland Europe, there is a size limit. So that is what that is, unfortunately. Daytime, 10 daytime and 3 night bus lines between central and southern London. 4 double deckers Enviro 400, Gemini 2, Gemini 2 Hybrid, and Gemini 3. Is that what's on OMSI? Is that what's on OMSI too? Because I mean, I could download it, but I just don't want to download something that isn't going to push my newly built PC to its limit, because I do enjoy having a PC that is a complete beast. Right, I wasn't sure, pal. Not a problem. No, I'm glad you asked, basically. I'd rather you ask and then get the right information than say go into France on a scooter that's too big, or a mobility scooter that's too big, to find that you can't get on the bus. So if I've done you a favour there, then so I'm gonna say it. I don't like saying it, but I'm gonna say it. I don't do Patreon. I never will do Patreon, because I don't believe in asking you to support my channel without me giving anything back in return. I am what I am. I give you who I am live every single time. But if anyone does feel the need to support my channel, then you can click on the link that will be in the video for my PayPal me. Any small contribution, we greatly appreciate it. It all goes to help support me and this channel. Hopefully I can get a new camera, which saved me stop doing it on this phone. I can try doing my videos at home more on a webcam, you know, and just try and step up the production a little bit more. If anything, if I do use my phone, I want to get a gimbal. You know, things you move, you know, and it keeps the camera completely still. You know, just little things like that. It all goes to help contributing towards the channel. And anything that I don't use over a certain amount of time, I'll donate to a charity of whoever's choice or whatever's in need at the time. Let's have a look. Yeah, but that's not updated because the Route Master is also being made. By the way, it probably will still take a while to come out. Yeah, and the thing is with these game developers is they, especially like a smaller developer, is they do take a long time to release stuff with DLC, because they may not have the funding, or they want to get the bus models right, or the physics of the bus right, or the internal layout. I know on OMSI, on the Enviro 400, although the exterior looks almost spot on, the interior is actually from a different bus. You know, you can actually check that out on YouTube. So there's that. But yeah, too close for comfort. That for me definitely today was way too close for comfort. What do you think to MMC buses? I don't know. I don't know what MMC is. I may be a bus driver, but I'm not all knowledgeable. I can tell you about driving safely on the road. I can tell you about many things, but I don't know about all buses or all bus companies, unfortunately. So if you tell me what MMC means or anything else, then I'm glad that I can get an education on here, as well as converse with you wonderful people as well. So anyway, I've been rambling on for nearly 49 minutes now. My kids are in the bedroom trying to rip each other's throats out, which I should go and check on, really. I think they're being a bit too quiet. Maybe one of them is like the other one. Okay, new buses that Stagecoach brought. How much was your PC, if you don't mind me asking? Right, Josh, well, it's a funny thing. I built my PC from scratch. I like building PCs. It's one of my hobbies. When I built it initially, if you was to add all the components up, it came to just over £1,000. Now, my PC actually broke in October. The motherboard, the gaming gigabyte motherboard that was in there, in my machine, actually fried. I think it fried. And it went kaput. So unfortunately, it was an AMD AM3 socket, which is now obsolete because AM4's out with Ryzen. And obviously the RAM that was in there, 16 gigabytes of HyperX RAM, by the way, best RAM you can get is HyperX. It's just the best RAM. I'm currently not using that. But what I've had to do is I had to strip out the internals. I kept my hard drives, obviously, and I kept my graphics card because I'm using an AMD R9 390 8GB card. And to be fair, if you pick one up now, it will be such good value for money because that will put out exactly what you need, especially when you compare it to some of the newer RX 590 cards. If you like your PCs and you like your PC gaming, pick up an R9 390 or 390X. It will be a damn sight cheaper than any new Radeon card, and it will give you the exact same performance. So what I've done was I went on to Amazon and I managed to find a motherboard, processor, RAM bundle. I'm looking at the screen so my eyes keep going this way. For just over £300. And with that, I got a Ryzen 5 2500X, 2500X. Now that chip you can't really buy unless it's in a bundle. Most people go for the Ryzen 5 2400X or the 26. For me, the 26 was a bit out of my price range, so I went for the 2500X. It gives you 4 cores, hyper-threaded up to 8 logical cores, and it's just a really good processor. Bearing in mind, my FX processor, which I had before, was dedicated 8 cores without the hyper-threading. It was just 8 cores, and it ran slower than my 4-core new processor. You know, I mean, I could run everything on Ultra with my old one. Now I can run everything on Ultra with at least 20 frames a second increase minimum with no stuttering, and it wants more and it uses less power. So there's that basically. Let's have a look. MMC, short for major model change, the updated Alexander environment. Okay. Yeah, the new buses, they're nice, basically. That's all I can say. Thanks for that. Planning on building one soon, so that will be helpful. Building and repairing PCs, laptops is my job. It's amazing the amount of people that get in touch with you that ain't heard of for years when they want a repair. Yeah, this is very true. Roy West, how you doing? So Ricky Austin, thanks for commenting on that. So for me, I taught myself how to build PCs. I can strip down a laptop and take out its core components. If people want RAM, this, that, and the other, you know, I can't say I'll fix them, but I can take them apart. As for PCs, I'm self-taught PC builder. It is a hobby of mine, and I will always go for AMD over Intel. Personal choice. There's a couple of reasons for that. Is value for money and performance. So AMD will always be cheaper than Intel. Always be cheaper than Intel. Intel will always have the performance edge over AMD, but with their new Ryzen technology, that gap where Intel was up here and AMD were down here, it's closing. You know, it's closing big time. AMD and their Ryzen processors are almost up there with Intel, and they're keeping it at a budget, and I love that. I love that. So I always go with AMD because I try and keep everything AMD. I'm an AMD fanboy, but that's just me. If you have the money to burn and you feel like getting the latest Intel i7, blah, 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 and you want to spend up to £800 or £900 on a motherboard, on a processor with 8 or 16 gigs of RAM, that's entirely your choice. But for me personally, the best advice I can give you is if you have £800 or £900, go to PC Specialist, configure a PC with a cheap case, get yourself a B450 motherboard with Ryzen, get a 2700X processor, get yourself 16 gigabytes of RAM, up to 3000 megahertz, and get yourself a minimum of a 4 gigabyte graphics card, preferably from AMD, although NVIDIA are quicker, and you'll have yourself an absolutely fantastic machine with change to spare. But, you know, again, that's everyone's different. You know, like I said, I'm an AMD fanboy. They've been around since 2014. Have they? I'm rubbish at it all. Let me stick to buses. I love the way we end up having conversations on here between ourselves. It's very true. Anyway, I have been rambling on for nearly 55 minutes. I'm going to say thank you very much to everyone who's joined me. I'm going to put the link down in the description for all the other bus drivers that I'm going to plug their channels for and others. I'm going to put down in the description my PayPal me if you do wish to make a contribution to myself to help me support this channel. That would be very much appreciated. I would never ever ask unless it was going to be used for exactly what I was going to say, and anything I don't spend on the channel will go to charity. Because I don't believe in doing Patreon. It's just something else to sign up to, and then me promising to give you something that I may not deliver. And that's why I don't do Patreon. So other than that, it is Thursday. It is nearly Easter. You've got a bank holiday tomorrow. So remember, if things don't come out of your bank and you think you've got money, don't spend it, because it's going to come out on Tuesday because there's another bank holiday on Monday. I'm going to go and have some dinner. I'm going to go see to my kids. I wish everyone has an absolutely